Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio. And today I'm broadcasting live from LinkedIn. They're broadcasting live to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and later on I'll be sending a message to Instagram. And in my studio today with my wife Gloria,
Welcome, everyone.
and she'll be monitoring the chat room and will also monitor the broadcast for me. Okay, the chat room's live, so be welcome to put a comment there and give me a thumbs up. If this is your first visit to me, please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up and give me a like, and leave me a comment. And it helps my rating. I really appreciate that. And well, today is another day. I'm going to talk a little bit more about design work because design is very important. And I'm trying to keep it a little interesting because there's lots of things to talk about. And today I'm going to cover more about color, a lot about color, and probably in the future a lot more because I can't cover it all in one session. So we'll start out today with there are three attributes of color. There's the hue, there's the intensity, and there's the value. But there's also a fourth dimension, and that's temperature. And I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of that today about temperature of a painting because it's very important. So let's go over to my painting table and let me get started on a discussion about color. Okay, here's my, I reduced my design chart here so you can see a little bit closer, but in design, today we're going to be talking about color. That's very important in design. And design is related to value, of course, because we got light and dark colors, so the value is very important. Also shapes, the shape of the color. That's another important area. So color is going to be, I'm going to talk about values, shapes, and everything about color. That's the design aspect. And these all relate to the contrast. Contrast is a very important concept. Dominance is which is the dominant color of the painting. Balance and harmony. Harmony is the painting harmonized? Does it have good harmony? And also unity. Is the colors work together or do they fight each other? So those are things that we'll talk about today. But the main thing I'll talk about today, the main subject is going to be color and really temperature. You don't see temperature here on the design. You don't see temperature on any of the actually, but it's an important aspect of color that I want to go over with you today. So let me move over to my important tools that I use. I have two color wheels today. Why do I have two color wheels? You might ask that. Well, this is the standard artist color wheel, which you can go on there and you can find out all the colors in the color going from yellow to blue to green to red, violet, and so forth. So that's all the colors in the color. Also, what I'm going to talk about today, this is how you harmonize the colors on this side of the color wheel. This shows the triad, the complementary colors, and so forth. So that's very important. Now, the color wheel, it's laid out the same way. It has the same, it's in a circle, and it has the primary and secondary colors on there listed. But what it has, in addition to that, it has the color names in here that you can find. For example, if we go from yellow to red primary, over here, where is burnt sienna? Well, burnt sienna is right there where I'm pointing at. So it's between yellow and red is burnt sienna into the orange, dark orange area. Okay, and I'm going to be using Hooker's green. Well, green is over here between yellow and blue. Here's green. Well, Hooker's green is right here, right there. And I can modify Hooker's green to give me a different value or a different color. The other color I'm going to use today is ultramarine blue. Well, where's ultramarine blue on the color wheel? Well, you can't tell on a regular color wheel, but here, ultramarine, here's blue. Here's the blue primary right here, and moving a little bit further this way, there's ultramarine right there, right there. Okay, so I'm going to be using. I talk about the color wheel because it has all the colors, but in addition to that, it has the name of the colors themselves. Now, another one I use in today's painting will be Payne's gray. Payne's gray, where is it located on the color wheel? Well, you can't find it on the regular color wheel, but here it is right here. Payne's gray is right here. It's right in the center, so that means it's a neutral pigment, a neutral color, which is what I want. So I can neutralize other colors using Payne's gray. So that's very important. Okay, so color wheel I'll be referring to today. Now let's go over, I'll go back to the color wheel in a minute, but let's go over some things that I want to talk about. Here's my reference photograph. It's a photograph of Great Bridge Waterway, and this is the Meadows. And you know, when you pick a subject to paint, one of the things that well, every artist has their own main things they like. This is very important to me. When I grew up as a youngster, I lived on a farm, but right behind the farmland was a meadow. And we had water back there, and we used to go fishing and crabbing and take a small boat out there and so forth. So I spent a lot of time in the meadow. Okay, so this is a very important scene to me because it's something that I equate to. And so it's great to pick a subject that you're interested in to paint, and it becomes more meaningful. And hopefully I can translate this into colors that'll make it more interesting to everyone else. So I'm not going to copy this photograph. I'm going to use it for design. I'm going to use the design of it. I'm going to use some of the color harmonies here and some of the color contrast. But I'm going to paint my own colors to represent this particular picture right here. So a reference is good for design work, but it's also something to give you. So let's talk about composition. Yeah, so first thing I do is I do a drawing. And if you'll see here in my composition sketch right here, I've got a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. And you'll see here from the photograph, the foreground is really this part right here. The middle ground is this section in here, the water and up to the trees. And the background really is the sky. The background's the sky, middle ground, and this is all foreground up here. And you know, I talked about size in the beginning of my design. They're all different sizes. I got a large foreground, a medium size middle ground, and a small background in the sky. And that's how I designed this is how I designed the painting. I've got an area down here I'm going to have for the foreground. I'm going to have a middle ground here, and then a background up here at the top. Now, in addition to that, what I did is I transferred over here. Now, here's what I did. Here's what is I took this and I traced it on a piece of tracing paper, took my design, my lines, and I went over here and I traced it again, so I had the same shapes. And you notice I talked about shapes before too. You can see the shapes I have in here. Very interesting. Okay, the shapes are the same as over here, but here I'm going to put a dark sky, dark trees, which is also from the photograph. The trees were dark. Also, the light areas is going to be the sky and the water, and the photograph is the same thing. The sky is the lightest area, and the reflection in the water is light. So that's my lightest area. And then the middle tone or the middle ground, and the foreground is all going to have medium value or medium dark values. Okay, so this is my design plan. This is my value sketch to support that. All right, so the next step I'm going to do is talk to you about the color choices. When I look at the photograph, I see complementary already. I see there's a large orange or yellow, reddish orange down here in the bottom, and a blue, and that's complementary. If you look at the color wheel, you can see the red orange, which would be the grass, and then the blue sky. They're complementary to one another, orange and blue. That's the complementary colors. But what I'm going to do, because there's green also here in the background, green in the tree line, I'm going to use a split complementary. What that means is I'm going to take the red orange, which is going to be basically the color of the grass and the meadow, the red orange. That's pretty close to burnt sienna. And coming across here to the complementary value, it's blue-green. But then I go to each side of that, I get green and blue. Green and blue, and that's a split complement. So the split complement of the red-orange is blue and green. Now, if you look at the picture, you can see here I got green in the trees, I got blue in the sky, and I've got an orangey color here. So I got that complement pretty well worked out, split complement. And also I got the blue against the orange here in the water, blue against orange here. Okay, so that's why I chose the split complementary color sketch. So what I did to get ahead of the schedule here, what I did, I've gone ahead and done a few things. I took that diagram and I painted in Payne's gray. I painted a value study. You can see there's the dark area in the background, and you see the light is the sky and the water here, and the middle ground and the medium value is going to be the back here in the background and also here in the foreground is a middle value with a shadow pattern down here. So this is kind of a middle value and middle dark value down here. Okay, so that's my value plan based on the sketch and the sizes. And you can see I have different sizes of shapes, and the shapes I've also designed the shapes so they're all different and very interesting shapes. Okay, so what I did now, I took that color scheme. I took. Let me show you what I did over here on my. I did a color study chart over here. I'm going to use the split complementary, and I got the green here mixed with burnt sienna, and I'm going to have the blue sky with ultramarine, and I'm going to use orange for the grass in the background, and I'm going to have the ultramarine blue in the water, and I'm going to use a little bit of burnt sienna and orange here in the foreground, with a touch of Payne's gray to give me that shadow pattern. So that's my color scheme now for the split complementary. So I went ahead and painted that. I want to show that to you now. So I'll flip my little chart here, and I'll move it up so you can see it. So this is my split complementary painting. The blue sky, the green with brown with burnt sienna and the gray and the trees, and then the orange against the green, and the orange against the blue in the water. And I got also some orange and some darker orange here in the foreground. So you can see that's my split complementary painting right there. Bring it up nice and close for you to see that. Okay. Now I painted that. I didn't use the photograph. I used the photograph to get shapes and get some ideas of give me an idea of design. But I used the colors from the color wheel that I thought would go together, which would be the split complementary. The blue and the green and the orange. Those are the three colors that work together. Okay? And that's when you use the color wheel, it'll give you a clue to how to put colors together in your painting. All right, we'll get there. All right. So now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do another color study, and I'm going to use warm colors. Now, what's a warm color? Well, we're going to use the same colors, but we're going to put in a different arrangement. If I split this in half, here's another color wheel, easier to see possibly. And I'm going to put a pencil across there. Everything above this area here is all warm. These are all warm colors: yellow, orange, orange, and red orange. Everything below, over on this side, is all cool. You got the blues, the blue violets, a little bit of green. And that's why the greens and the blues are opposite each other, because they have different tonal values. These are more middle value, these are more dark values down here. This is warm, this is cool. All right, I'm going to concentrate on the warm colors up here, and I'm going to do a warm dominant painting. Or warm dominant sketch. It's not going to be a full painting, it's going to be a sketch. So let me go here. I got to move some of my stuff out of the way here. So I'm going to open this up. So I have another, and let me move this aside. I got my palette here ready to go. Let me bring this over so you can see what I'm painting. Okay. Okay. So I've got my value plan already. I got my design already planned out over here on this blank. This is a blank sheet of paper. Okay. And this is the values I'm going to use to get this one over here. So when I talk about values, we're going to talk about, first of all, I'm going to put the sky. Now I can only use light values. Remember, I can only use yellow, orange, or red. So the lightest color I can use up there is going to be really a light orange. What I'm going to do is take that orange, which is yellow-orange color, and I'm going to put some water in that, And I've got a little bit of yellow deep here also I can put in, because I want like a lighter orange. So I'm mixing orange a little bit with yellow deep with a lot of water. And I'll come over here and I want to test this out. Okay, that'll work. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint the sky. I'm going to put, that's my lightest value, so I'm going to put the lighter value from my value study. So my lighter value is going to be yellow orange, which is made out of orange. I mixed the yellow orange plus a little bit of yellow deep together to give me this orange yellow look up here at the top. So that's my background color. It's going to be yellow, and this is warm, and it's light value. That's why I chose that. And while I got my colors out here, I'm going to go ahead and also paint in the light color here in the middle ground, which is the water. So I'm going to put my yellow here, yellow orange. So this is going to be a warm color sketch of this particular scene. Okay, and I'm not working on texture. I'm not working on anything else other than color and value. The value, and these are the colors. Light. This is a light color using the warm family of colors. Now I let that dry a little bit. Let's see what I can put in next. Foreground, background. I can put in the burnt sienna. Okay, so my middle value here is going to be. I'm going to use burnt sienna, which is a reddish orange. You can see that. You see the colors there. If you ever looked at burnt sienna, it's got an orange to it. It's got red in it. It's a beautiful color. But I'm going to make sure I lighten up. I don't want it too dark at this point. I just want to get a nice value. Let me test that out. See if I got the right value there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to use this color here. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in the middle tone. I'm going to go ahead and put in the. Now I'm putting in the middle value, which is here in the middle area of the painting. This is also the middle value of my warm colors, which is I'm using burnt sienna. And it's watered down a little bit because I want it to be kind of a little lighter than the coming out of the tube. So I put a little bit of water to get it a little bit lighter. Okay, I'm working that shape. You'll notice that I made the shapes all different, and these don't actually match up with the photograph because I altered them a little bit so that I would have an interesting shape for each section. And that's what you have to do. You have to tailor the painting with your art, and you want to keep things interesting. And you don't want to have too many lousy looking shapes. Okay, now I'm going to continue on down here at the bottom. This also is the same value down here. So I can put the foreground in with the same value. I'm using the burnt sienna along the edge of this light value here, which is the water. As I'm coming forward in the paint, so I can get a little bit darker. I can use a little bit more pigment now, coming forward. That's also a principle of gradation, where I got a darker value here and a lighter value further back in the painting, and that makes sense. That makes it read distance-wise, lighter values in the back and then darker values in the foreground will make it look a little more like it's in the distance. So I get this first layer in here of the same value, then I'm going to put a darker value on top to show the shadow pattern up in the foreground, which will follow the same scheme here of my value study. I put the first color in first. So these are all warm values now for this particular painting, for this particular color sketch. And the purpose of a color sketch is to test out the colors you want to use in the painting. That's the purpose of a color sketch. You want to test out the colors. You want to design your painting with the colors that you think will be more interesting, the colors that you like. The purpose of the painting, why you're painting it, so that this is the first stage here. Is you go in and you actually. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this burnt sienna I have down here, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker for my shadow pattern. So what I'm going to do now is take this burnt sienna that I have already mixed down here, and I'm going to add a touch of Payne's gray, just a touch. What that does is it darkens up the value. Remember I showed you the Payne's gray on the quiller wheel. It's right in the middle of the. It doesn't change the color. It dulls the color down because it's neutral. It dulls it down, and it also it keeps the same color. It's still brown, but it's just a darker color. So that's really the advantage of using this mixture. Now some people can use neutral tint, but I use burnt sienna. I use Payne's gray. I've used it for a long time, and it works very well for me. Okay, I want to keep it on the warm side, which means because this is a warm toned painting, so I keep it on the warm side, which is that brown, reddish brown, which is warm. Now I'm going to go in now, and I'm going to go ahead and paint in the shadow pattern, which is I'm going to follow my design plan over here, which is my value plan. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Now remember, it looks a little darker, but that's okay because watercolor always looks a little darker when you first put it down because it's wet. It always looks darker when it dries. It gets much lighter looking. So this little color sketch is really it takes the value study and adds color to it. And it's a study. I'm studying now, showing you how I study the color mixtures I'm going to use in a painting. And if you're going to spend a lot of time on a painting, you want to do a little preparation. One of them is a value plan, and then a color sketch. And you might not have to go the whole route here of actually doing a complete sketch with all details on it, but you might have a plan of what colors you're going to use out on a piece of paper. And the more experience you have, the better you get at it. So down here now, I'm going to go down. I'm going to follow this. I'm going to follow this plan I have over here in the value. So I'm just following the same value study that I have over here on the right. So I'm using a value study to put the colors on my color sketch. So they work hand in hand. The value study is shows me what values, the darks and the lights of the painting, and this will show me the colors that I want to use in the painting. This is a warm dominant painting sketch. Okay, all right. So I've got the background, and I've got to finish off the middle ground here on it. Now it's dark. So what I'm going to do with the dark now, I'm going to take a little bit of this Payne's gray. I'm going to take a little bit more Payne's gray and I'll make it even darker. So now I can put a lot more value in here. But I want to stay warm. And as long as it's in the brown range with burnt sienna colors, then I'll be okay. Okay, so up here now, I may use another brush. Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm putting in this darker color up here. This is my darkest color now because it's in my value study. I'm putting the dark colors, and I'm using a dark brown mixture made of burnt sienna and Payne's gray. Okay, now I'll take my number 8 round now, and it gives me a little more control, a little smaller marks here to be a little more careful with the edges. So that would now, if I'm going to paint this into a larger painting now, say to use a half sheet or quarter sheet, then my sizes would be a little bit bigger, of course, and I would use bigger brush strokes, and I would probably I would look at variations. I would have different colors in here, showing a little bit of variety of different colors of browns. I might put yellow ochres in there and things like that to show a little bit of shadowing and so forth. So on a real full-blown painting, you would have a little bit more detail, and of course texture. You'd have more texture in a painting because of the grass here, and of course the water would have texture in it, and there'd be maybe a movement in the water, and there'll be you might put some small trees around and things like that. So there's other things we can add to the painting to make it more interesting or to tell more of the story. We could put somebody in a small boat down on the water, fishing, or we could have someone walking along the edge of the water, taking a walk with their dog, or maybe a couple of people down there just having a little walk, a little exercise in the meadows. I can remember many times I went to the meadows that just really spent a lot of time down there. Went down, did a lot of fishing, a lot of crabbing, just being near the water. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is right here. The only place I'm going to have a little bit of light mix is right here where these two connect, because I've got what I want to show here, and I'm showing a little bit of light value here because this shows that this little tree line is behind the other tree line. Just indication that there's a lighter value there. So there might be a little light coming through that section there. Okay, so that right there, that completes the warm. That completes my warm sketch of this particular. Now I'm going to do another painting, and I'm going to work on cool. This is the warm temperature, warm dominant painting, and I like the way it turned out. I like the way the colors arranged. I like the color. See how they go together? You can get a color scheme is what helps you decide how you're going to paint your painting. What do you want to say? And I'll go through that in a few minutes here when I finish the other one. We'll go through what this. We can actually translate that a little bit into how it can be used. But for right now, we're just playing with color, and I'm showing you how to make a different color scheme out of the same painting. So I've done two paintings already. One with the split complement, and this one here is a warm dominant. Warm dominant painting. Okay, well, make sure I wash out my brushes. Let's see, pick up some. Okay, now I'm going to change colors. And the colors I'm going to use here is going to be cool. So I'm going to use, I'm definitely going to use ultramarine blue up here in the top, ultramarine blue. That'll be for the sky and for the water. I think so. We'll work that out. It's going to be my light value. It'll be the lighter value. And I'm going to use a little bit of Quinacridone Violet. That's a cool color. It's warmer than that, but it's still a cool color. Violet's still a cool color. If you look at the color wheel, we're talking for a cool color. We'll go through that before I get started. Okay, and then Quinacridone neutral, that's about it. And then maybe burnt sienna. Yeah, I'll need a little bit of burnt sienna here also. A little bit of burnt sienna because I'm gonna make a dark. I'm gonna make a gray. So I'll need three colors here. I'll need the blue, the purple, and a little bit of burnt. This complement now will give me a dark value, and that's why I'm using it. Okay, complementary color blue against when I mix blue with burnt sienna, ultramarine, it gives me a gray, and I can make that gray as dark as I want. So that'll give me that dark background I'm looking for in the background. Okay, so let me tip this over. Let me see. I'm gonna before I leave that, let me dry that so it doesn't smudge. I'm going to dry the smaller painting here. So I'm drying off the warm paint where I have still a little bit of wet paint up there. It won't take very long. That's all I needed. Okay. Okay. Make sure it's dry. All right, now I'm going to flip this, and I've got another drawing I have down here. Now I'll move it up so you can see. I have my fourth drawing here. I've taken the value study and I've copied the same pattern down here on this particular scene here. Now I'm going to paint this one blue dominant. Cool dominant. Okay, so wash out my brush. I got burnt sienna in it. Make sure it's clean. So I'm going to start with the same value study, a light background and a darker foreground. So it's going to do the same. I'm using the same value study for the cool dominant. So I'm going to start out with the sky, and it's going to be light. I'm going to mix up a lighter value of cerulean blue. Ultramarine blue is what I'm using. But I'm putting a lot of water in that so I get a light value. I need a light value for the blue. So I'm going to go up here and you can see there how light that is now by putting a lot of water in that. And that's what I want. I want a light value of this cool color. Blue is cool. And I'm going to put the blue sky. So I'm staying with the same value study plan of light against dark all the way through the painting, each painting. So this is just another way of looking at what color am I going to use in this particular sketch. I've already gone through the colors, but it's the color study is to study the colors you want to use in the painting, and to see if it's something there you want to change. Or now I'm going to go down to the next lighter value. I'm using the same color. It will be the water itself, and it'll be blue. So it's light value. The color is the same as the sky, reflection. So it reads okay. That reads sky, and this reads water. If we know the landscape we're looking at, then we know what we're painting. It's also part of the process. So it's an interesting way to look at a scene or a subject, and to play around with colors. That gives it a variety. You can paint the same scene several times with different color combinations. And that happens naturally in nature. We have a different color in the spring. The trees are all nice and bright and green and yellowish. And in the fall, they're orange and browns and other things. So during the 4 seasons, we have also 4 different color schemes. So that tells you right there that you can change the colors to match the season, or change the colors to match your purpose for doing the painting. All right, so that's now the next one I'm going to put in. I'm going to use the light tone, which I'm going to use the Quinacridone Violet. and it's going to be, I'm going to make it a little bit dark, darker than the light blue. So here I'm making a value change. I'm making a color change. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add just a touch of, I think I'm going to add just a touch of ultramarine blue with that. Just a touch. I want to cool that down because that's still a little reddish. That's a reddish violet, and I want a bluish violet. So I add a little bit of ultramarine to that, and I think that'll go better with the color scheme because I want it to be cool. Let's see. Now let me see if that's the color I want. I always come over and I test on a sheet of paper. Yeah, that's more like it. It's still going to have the reddish look, but it's going to be a little bit cooler. And it'll be a darker value than the sky. So I'm going to go in here now. I'm going to paint that light or middle value color. And I'm using Quinacridone Violet mixed with a little bit of blue to give me a bluish violet. Just a little bit. So you can modify the colors depending on how you feel about the subject. So this is darker. You can see in the value I'm making this a little bit darker than the sky color because that light blue now going against this reddish or bluish purple, bluish violet. And against this blue area here, which is the waterway. And this will dry a little bit lighter. It gets wet. While it's wet, it looks a little bit darker, but as it dries, it'll give it a little bit lighter, which is what I want to see, which is what I expect. And if the color, once it dries, if it gets too light, you can always go back in and layer it with another layer of color. So, there's always ways to fix or correct the value. If it's not right the first time, you can always layer it with another layer and get it a little bit darker. It's always best to go a little bit lighter than you think. If you get too dark, then it's going to be too much of a contrast compared to what you want in the background. That background is going to be much darker, which is what I want, just like the value study. So I want this a little bit darker than the background, but not as dark as the darkest dark. Okay, and there's little white patches along here, and I'll clean up the edges just a little bit. Again, that's just my problem. I like to clean up the edges. I don't like to see too many edges hanging around. Just fill them in. So really, I'm blocking in the color here. There's really no texture or anything. It's just a block. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna go ahead and continue on down here in the foreground. And I think what I'll do, I'm gonna take a tissue. I'm gonna lay it up here and just go across there. I might pull off just a little bit. I'm pulling off a little bit of color, just a little bit. Just a little bit lighter value. It's still darker than the sky, but I don't want to get it too dark. The darker area should be down here in the foreground. All right. So I think you've seen me do that before. I'll take a tissue and I'll use it to pick up the color while it's still wet. Okay, now I want to come in here. This is the foreground, which is going to be a middle value, but I'm going to have darker shadows in here, which I'll get into the second layer there. I'll put the first layer in first. Okay, so this is still a cool color. I'm getting lots of blues in there. This is a blue violet. And I think in the beginning, if you ever thought you would paint orange or yellow brown grass, make it a purple color. That'd probably be the last thing you would think of. But you have to come up with a scheme, whether you want to be cool dominant or what. Now, sometimes the subject matter will dictate to you what you want to do. But sometimes you just want to make a change. Don't always paint the same way. Don't always paint this, especially if you're doing the subject several times. You don't want to paint it the same old way. You want to change it, make a difference, make a change. And one of the easiest ways is to change the color scheme from a warm to a cool, to another modify. Change the actual configuration of the going from your complementary painting into a split complement like we did over here. I'll show you all four of them here in a minute. Okay, I'll let that dry just a little bit while I mix up a little darker. I'm going to put a little darker shadow in here, so I'm going to mix up a little more blue with that purple color. Make it a little more dark, So adding more blue to it. As I add more blue, it gets, again, that gives you more cool. And this is the big area down here. That's why I have the shadow pattern to break this section up down here. It's just too big to be by itself. Okay. Let's try. So we'll go in here now and start putting in that color. And I'm putting in the blue shadow. This is kind of it's cooler because it's in the shadow. It's kind of a shadow. A shadow in this foreground coming across. Now it's still a little bit damp. It's going to have little edges there, but that's okay. I'll just keep on going. I can modify this. It's not that you have a lot of detail here. There is not much detail. I just want to have a shape down here and a value change. And I'm following my design from my value study up here on the right. Here's my value study. I'm coloring the values down here. I'm making this a cool, dominant painting sketch. Color sketch. These are called color sketches. And what we're doing is we're testing out the color combinations and the values and the colors you want to use in a painting. And this is cool dominant. Okay, now I got one more section to go, and that's those trees. Now what I'm going to do back there is I'm going to use the burnt sienna. No, I don't want to use the purple. I want to take the purple out of the picture here. Just use burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. I'm going to mix up a cool gray. A cool gray. That'll be darker than none of these. So I'm going to use a lot of blue, a little bit of burnt sienna. Mix that in there. It's coming along. I'll pick up a little more blue. And you can see as you mix the colors, you can see the color change. You know, this is warm down here. You can see it getting cooler as I get more blue mixed in there. You can see the cool change. Now I'm going to keep adding more blue until I get a blue. There we go. Now I'm getting a blue, more blue than anything else. That's what I want. I want a bluish gray. A bluish gray. Okay, so now I got the color I want. I'm going to go in there and start putting that in. It's going to be more blue in there. So I'm putting this background is going to be dark. It's going to be cool because I'm putting more blue in there than anything else. and I'm following this scheme of my value plan. And this will be a cool dominant color study, color sketch. Pick up my number 8 round, a little smaller, get a little smaller space here. I'll go in there, put that in. So color studies are very important when you're doing a painting, and you don't have. These are very small. They're like 5 by 6 size. They can be even smaller, 2 by 4. But a little small sketch of the shapes that you're painting, and then play around with several of those. I got 4 here. You can have more, 4 or 5, and then you can play around with a color plan of what colors you want to use, and then use the color wheel or use your color theory before you start. Otherwise, some colors just don't go together very well, but you never know. You might surprise yourself. You might come up with a combination that you like that works well. We're looking for color harmony, unity, a little contrast, and I think with a color scheme like this, we get that. We get the contrast with the darks and lights. We get the harmony and the unity between because we got blue. I got blue in every one of these mixes, so that's the color. That's the color harmony, and the unity factor is the blue color. And in the same way in the warm mix, I added orange. I added orange in all the mixes. The brown has an orange in it. Okay, and I'm leaving that little light area up there just to show a little bit of possible light coming through that intersection. So I paint them all the same way. Okay. All right, let me dry that there. Let me dry it. Take a few seconds here. All right, so I've done, I showed you, I didn't do it here on the demo, but I showed you the one I had finished. I did the color, the split complement, and I showed you. Now I showed you the warm and the color dominant color sketches. Let me dry this up just a little bit here. Okay, we're doing real good. Okay. All right. Now, if you want to look at comparisons, I'll take all my covers off here. And just kind of a review that we did. I did a value study showing the lights and darks and the sizes of the areas. That's important. Size and the light and dark areas. Very important on a value study. Then I took that here and I made the actual composition of a split complement colors using the blue, the green, and the orange as a split complement study, color study. Then up here I just used all the warm colors, yellows, oranges, and the browns, which is a burnt sienna, made into a warm study. And then down here I used all the cool colors, blue and violet, and a little bit of burnt sienna up here with the making me a dark gray, bluish gray up here for the background. Okay. Now, if I took, if you take a little mat board and put it around each one, you come up with a little different viewpoint of each one of the paintings, each one of the little sketches. Okay. Now, let's analyze it just a split second here. The warm colors, the warm dominant sketch, that could be let's say it could be a desert scene. The desert has a light, warm sky, a yellow sky, with the warm sand. So this could be turned into a desert scene, which I've seen very many paintings, a lot of deserts. And you might add some cactus in there, some little texture here in the foreground, background, and so forth. This one here I found a picture here of a blue sky with a large dominant blue flowers here in the meadows. So it could be this could be a valley with the colorful flowers here, and it could have a river going through the valley with color flowers on here, and you could have mountains here in the background, just like we have here, with a blue sky. So there are situations and locations where this color scheme would work out. A cool dominant. Here's a cool dominant picture, all blues, all cool. A little bit of yellows in there and so forth, which you can add. You can add a little bit of contrast in here. And over here we got a warm dominant picture of a desert scene with a warm sky. Not necessarily blue, it's yellow up here. Okay, so there are situations where you can use warm and cool temperature for your particular painting. Okay, I enjoyed that. Let's see if there's anything else I want to discuss. Oh, yeah, a couple of things I can show you here. Hey, I did the painting. I did a practice one here earlier, which is now here's something I want to talk about. If you look at this, a little comparison. This particular painting I did here, it's missing things. It's missing texture. It's also missing what I call connectivity. This part is not connected to this part. Okay, so what I want to show you here is now you can put texture here in the foreground. It shows a little bit of grass and so forth down here, but I put a shadow pattern across here. From the trees, it'll be a shadow pattern, and some shadow pattern from this bank over here. So that creates a bridge from this side to that side. And if I could also put some trees in here, showing a tree up here, but I didn't want to go that far. I'm just saying there are other ways to make bridges going from the bottom to the top of a painting. This particular one here cuts the painting in half, but you can also very easily connect it with shadows or with a tree line over here, a bush line or whatever. And if we had somebody walking along here or in a little boat going, that would also connect the top and the bottom. Okay, so there's a lot of ways of doing that. Just want to show that to you. So beyond this, you could add other items to the paint to make it a real painting. And this is just the color schemes to talk about and think about. The other thing I wanted to show you was, okay, this is the actual, I did this on location. This is an on location sketch that I did looking at the scene. I forgot, where's my scene? Where's my picture? Is it over here? Or is it my picture? Oh, it's back here. Here we go. Okay, this is my observation of and this is the actual painting I did on location. And as I said, this was something I did just looking at the scene and picked up the color. And I can see here that the real bridge here is the water, because the water is complementary with the orange here, and it's also complementary down with the yellow and oranges down here. So the blue really is the main color going through this color. It's the same color scheme I painted here, except I did this with more, not realistic colors, but more things that I physically saw at the scene. Okay, and I used my visual journal. I used my visual journal and my Everetts watercolors travel set with my primary palette to go along. I just used the blue, the yellow, and the red colors. That's all I used. A little bit of Payne's gray. I used a little bit of Payne's gray to darken up the green back here. Okay, so I wanted to show you that. So in summary, I did 3 color schemes today. I showed you this one. This is the color scheme here with using the primary color, using the split complementary colors here. Then here I used the warm color dominant scheme here. Then I used the cool color dominant colors here. Okay, I'm going to take you back to get this stuff out of my way.
While you're doing that, a shout out to Jay. Not sure how to pronounce your name, but we want to recognize that you did say hello.
Hey, hello everybody. Those of you who are watching, I appreciate you showing up. So, let's see, let me take you back to my main camera. Okay, well that was quite a study on starting out in colors. And the more you study color, the more interesting it is. And I think getting a paintbrush together or getting a color pencil together, whatever you have, whatever colors you have, sit down and come up with color schemes. And what I did was you take a scene you like or a subject matter you like and just try different colors on it that make sense to you. And the color wheel will help you. The color wheel gives you those color harmony plans, the triads and the complementary colors in the color wheel will help you get started to come up with a good color mix.
Carlotta Art is thanking you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And pass the word on to your friends. I'll be back again next Thursday, Everett's Watercolors, next Thursday at 2 p.m. There I'll be doing another demonstration, and I'm going to be teaching a little bit more about design, because design I think is very important. Last week we talked about value on last week's video. You can go on Everett's Watercolors on YouTube and find it on values. And today I talked a little bit about color. Color is a wide area. It can cover a lot of things in color, but today was just to get started on going over a little bit of the color wheel, and then how do you use the color wheel to come up with a good color mixtures to use. And I kept it simple. I used 3 colors in each painting just to keep it simple. I'll be back this evening at 7:30 p.m. for Simply Drawing with Everett. I'll do a drawing. I'll be live at 7:30 p.m. this evening. And then I'll be back. What I'll do over the weekend, I put out a video on Sunday that anyone can draw with one line. It's a real short little video, and if you're subscribed to my channel, you'll get notification of that particular video. And it's just called Anyone Can Draw with One Line Only. And I do a different little sketch each week, and it gets released on Sunday. So until next week, you all stay safe, and it gets released, and you can see it at least by 2 p.m. on Sunday.
No. This is it's Sunday after midnight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they can see it
yeah,
Sunday
yeah.
after midnight.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next week, next Thursday.
Next Thursday at 2 and at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? All right. Didn't want to confuse you on that. But if you're subscribed, you'll be notified of my next video, I guarantee. So until next week, you be safe and take care. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.